You are now tuned in for the latest trending news on Obama.
The Obama News Network.
Be sure to subscribe.
Guantanamo Bay Obama in bid to close controversial prison. President Obama lays out a plan to officially close the U.S. prison in Guantanamo Bay and move prisoners to a new location inside the U.S. VPC. President Obama said Tuesday that closing the military prison at Guantanamo Bay would not only make America safer and save taxpayer money, but also uphold the values that bind us as Americans. The plan we're putting forward today is not just about closing the facility at Guantanamo, Obama said. This is about closing a chapter in our history. Addressing a small group of reporters at the White House Tuesday, Obama renewed his call for Congress to close the facility as the Pentagon sent a report to Capitol Hill about what to do with the remaining 91 detainees held there. That plan looked at 13 unidentified possible sites in the United States, although Obama said the current congressional ban on transferring detainees made it difficult to move any further. "We are not identifying a specific facility today in this plan," he said. "We are outlining what options look like." And while he acknowledged that the politics of this is tough, Obama said he would work to close the prison for the remainder of his presidency, fulfilling a campaign promise and giving the next president a clean slate. "I don't want to pass this problem off to the next president, whoever it is," he said. "And if, as a nation, we don't deal with this now, when will we deal with it? Are we going to let this linger on for another 15 years? Another 20 years? Another 30 years?" At least one would-be successor said he doesn't want the help. "We should not be releasing the people who are there now," Florida Senator Marco Rubio, our Florida, told supporters Tuesday in Las Vegas. "They are enemy combatants." Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders said he has consistently called for the prison to be closed. "Others, including my opponent, have not always agreed with me," he said, referring to Hillary Clinton's 2007 vote to keep it open. The ramifications of closing Guantanamo Bay raise a number of legal, diplomatic and security questions about what to do with the remaining 91 detainees. Of those, 35 have been approved for transfer to a third country, but are awaiting a country willing and able to house them securely and humanely. 10 have been charged in a military court and are awaiting trial. A process Obama called costly, time-consuming and in need of reform. "This type of use of military commission should not set a precedent for the future," Obama said. While the administration has concluded that moving the detainees to U.S. soil would not necessarily change their status as enemy combatants, Obama wants to transfer future cases to civilian courts, which he said have an outstanding record of convicting some of the most hardened terrorists. The remaining 46 detainees are still being evaluated. Obama said he wants to accelerate that evaluation process through what's known as a periodic review board. One such board meeting is happening today, Pentagon officials said. House Speaker Paul Ryan, our Wisconsin, said Congress has already decided that Guantanamo Bay should remain open, and that after 7 years, Obama has yet to make a compelling case to the contrary. "It is against the law, and it will stay against the law, to transfer terrorist detainees to American soil. We will not jeopardize our national security over a campaign promise," Ryan said. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, our Kentucky, was only a bit more open to even discussing the issue. "We will review President Obama's plan, but since it includes bringing dangerous terrorists to facilities in U.S. communities, he knows that the bipartisan will of Congress has already been expressed against that proposal," he said in remarks to the Senate Tuesday. The White House has presented to Congress a plan to close the Guantanamo Bay detention facility, one of the president's long-standing goals. It wants to transfer the remaining 91 detainees to their home countries or to U.S. military or civilian prisons. But Congress is deeply opposed to terror suspects being held on U.S. soil and is expected to block the move. The prison costs $445 million, £316 million, to run annually, and closing it was a 2009 promise from President Barack Obama. He told reporters on Tuesday the prison undermined national security. "This is about closing a chapter in our history," said Mr. Obama. "It reflects the lessons we've learned since 9/11, lessons that must guide our nation going forward." Life after Guantanamo prison. Will Guantanamo prison finally close? But Republican presidential candidate Marco Rubio was scathing in his criticism, saying Guantanamo prisoners do not belong on U.S. soil. "These are literally enemy combatants," he said, adding he would ship terrorists straight to Guantanamo to find out what they know. There are 4 main components of the White House plan. Transfer 35 detainees to foreign countries who have been designated to do so. Do periodic reviews of remaining detainees to see if their detention is still necessary. Continue to use legal tools to deal with remaining detainees, working with Congress to establish our location in the U.S. to hold detainees who will not go to foreign countries. It estimates the move would save up to $180 million, £128 million a year in cost savings. The president, who will complete his second and final term in January, said it was important not to pass the problem on to his successor. "Keeping this facility open is contrary to our values. It undermines our standing in the world. It is viewed as a stain on our broader record of upholding the highest standards of rule of law." Analysis. Tara McElvey, BBC White House reporter. President Obama has tried for years to close Guantanamo. He and his deputies say that it hurts the reputation of the U.S. and that militants used the infamous orange jumpsuit, as one senior administration official described it, as a recruiting tool. But members of Congress have balked at Mr. Obama's plan to close the prison, saying they believe it should remain open and they don't want any detainees to be transferred to the U.S. Representative Mike Pompeo of Kansas, for example, said the prisoners should stay right where they are. Lately, though, White House officials said that lawmakers, or at least some of them, seem more receptive to the idea. A senior administration official told reporters that there's room for conversation. That's important since Mr. Obama has less than a year to close the prison, and for him time is of the essence. Guantanamo Bay is located on an American naval base in southeastern Cuba. Former U.S. President George W. Bush opened it to accommodate foreign terror suspects after the 9/11 attacks on the U.S. Human rights groups have repeatedly complained about the prison, which has held 780 men total since it opened in 2002. Many detainees have been held there without charge or trial. The plan does not specify where in the U.S. detainees would go, but the Pentagon has considered 13 different locations in the U.S., including 7 prisons in Colorado, South Carolina and Kansas, and 6 other places on military bases.
Thanks for listening to
The Obama News Network.
Please subscribe and stay tuned.